I don't know what I was thinking coming into Dark Crisis #2 with somewhat high expectations for the comic book. You know, I read Justice League 75. Is perfectly fine comic book, executed okay, not really exciting. The deaths felt kind of meaningless. I read Road to Dark Crisis. It was absolutely awful. I read Dark Crisis #1, and I thought, well, there's some total issues here. It's not terrible. When that's the best compliment you have, it's not a really good sign. But I came into Dark Crisis #2, it kind of excited. We were going to get this big fight. We got this souped up version of Deathstroke. He just got resurrected in some weird Lazarus pits. There's something wrong with him, and he's going to take on the entire Teen Titans. Well, not by himself. Obviously, he's going to bring the Secret Society or whatever his troop of villains are to come with him and basically take out the Teen Titans, ruin the Academy, burn down the building, and all that stuff. We got plenty of promotion from DC Comics that said, you should be excited for this issue. You're going to see an enormous fight between Nightwing and Slade Wilson. Sold. I'm finally excited for something, and I was excited for Dark Crisis #3 when we know the Green Lantern Corps are finally going to do something together and fight the Dark Army. And I was disappointed again. Do we get a fight? Kind of, maybe. If you want to call it that. It's like barely a little skirmish. It's like it's like hitting somebody in the face with a dueling glove or something, and then nothing happens. This is comic book Blue Balls 101. Like, what are you doing? You can't sell this comic book on being this epic confrontation and then finish it like this. I came away it's like, I can see why no one is buying this goddamn comic book, because they did not set it up very well. And now on the execution, I guarantee you, there were people like myself that said, you know what, maybe Dark Crisis #2 can salvage this thing, at least get somebody excited with an epic confrontation between two longtime rivals in the DC Comics universe, and it does not execute very well. This is once again by Joshua Williamson with Daniel Sampry on art. And I must give Daniel Sampry some kudos, because the art in this is definitely not the problem. It looks fantastic. DC Comics did send out this image as the big promo, besides the covers, which heavily feature Slade Wilson in a burning Teen Titans Academy tower, that there was going to be this enormous fight. And when Daniel Sampry gets to put some exciting pencils down on paper, we get a very exciting, action-packed, visceral comic book reading experience. Unfortunately, it's just not very many pages, and we don't get the major payoff, in my opinion, of this big fight. Slade Wilson is leading his army in this assault on Teen Titans Tower, and it's pandemonium. Nightwing is already out on his feet. They're trying to save him. People are all over the place, and Slade Wilson shows up. He's like, you know what? It's me and you. You and I, Nightwing, we are going to fight to the death, or at least that's what it felt like. Nightwing gets in the first strike, and then Slade Wilson says, it's time for round 2. You have to pick another member of the Teen Titans. Who's going to take a round with old Deathstroke? As hopefully the stakes are raised in this confrontation, and it's building up. And you're like, hey, man, this is pretty exciting. This is going to be good. Finally, something enjoyable is going to happen in Dark Crisis. Nightwing says, if you kill me, you'll let everyone go. And he says, I'm going round 2. It's you and I, sir. We are about to throw down in the most epic battle in DC Comics history, possibly. And then no. Superman, John Kent, shows up and takes the bullet for him. And then out of nowhere, Cyborg Superman shows up. Not the worst thing in the history of the world. At this point, I'm like, hey, we're going to get an epic confrontation between Slade Wilson and Nightwing. Yes, that's what I want. But we're also going to get John Kent getting his butt kicked by Hank Henshaw. And I can definitely live with that as well. At this point in the story, I'm halfway there. You know what I'm saying? This is exciting stuff. This is why I paid my hard-earned money, so DC Comics could at least deliver on something that they had promised. And then next thing you know, Pariah gets in Slade Wilson's head, and he says, no, you can't kill the superheroes. I need them. Remember, Slade, you're only here to create crisis on Earth 1 because I'm bringing my Dark Army to you. You need to get out, sir. And Slade Wilson's like, yeah, I got to leave. And then they create some portals. Apparently Doctor Strange was in there, and they create some portals, and they just leave. And that is the end of the confrontation between Dick Grayson, Nightwing, and Slade Wilson Deathstroke. What an enormous disappointment. The cover tells the reader that you are in for a wild ride. This is a fight to the death. Everything is burning to the ground. And we get swerved. We also got swerved on Beast Boy. Guess what? Despite being shot in the face, he lived. They don't explain how. They just say he's going to have a scar. Apparently getting shot in the face leaves a mark. And that's all that happened to Beast Boy. Even though technically right now in DC Comics continuity, he and Cyborg are one. There's just an illusion making it look like the two are separated. How is this happening? I don't know. I don't think DC Comics has a fucking clue what they're doing with this goddamn event. Everything is so confusing. There's even more continuity errors, which we have seen riddled throughout this event happening later. The John Kent, Hank Henshaw battle is equally disappointing. They fly up in the air. They fight a little bit. They crash into the building and do destroy it. So I guess Teen Titans Tower being destroyed does happen in here. And then Hank Henshaw is like, I need to go. I'm going to leave you guys here by yourselves. And those are the big confrontations. Now, they look beautiful because the art is very good, but this comic book does not deliver at all on what DC Comics was telling you in the promotion of this comic book you were going to receive, whether it be through the news media, through the covers, through the writer himself talking. You do not get the epic battles that they promise. It's a couple pages, and then they decide to stop fighting, and there are no consequences to being shot in the face in the DC Comics universe. Yes, death is absolutely meaningless within DC Comics. And we also get a new leader of the Justice League. Black Adam shows up because apparently this isn't only happening at Teen Titans Academy. This is a worldwide cataclysmic event where all the superheroes around the world are being targeted simultaneously. Of course, we don't see any of that, but we do get confirmation from Black Adam because they went to Kahndaq and they attacked him as well. And he comes over and he says, you are not ready to lead the Justice League. But I was wrong about you, Nightwing. Deathstroke may have led this attack, but this blame for this tragedy falls at your feet. And then John Kent's like, where were you? Why don't you just lead the Justice League if you have a problem with it? And he's like, that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to lead the Justice League, and I'm going to turn this rabble of dipshits into the protectors you were always meant to be. So we already have a new leader of the Justice League. First issue was John Kent. Now apparently it's Black Adam. Not that anybody was asking for that. If there's anything in here that I think was interesting and I thought was done quite well, it was the opening pages featuring Pariah and really laying out his plans and his motivations for all the things that are happening. We definitely get a lot of callbacks to Crisis on Infinite Earths and the things that happen there. We get some imagery that definitely makes you think of the great George Perez, the artist on that event. And he says that the Justice League sacrifice only delayed the inevitable and that the Monitor has given him a gift and they are going to return to Earth Zero and bring everyone to their knees. Apparently, the heroes can't actually be dead. They just have to be hurt or injured. Whatever. I don't want to get into that. I imagine they're going to use their souls to power up a machine or something like that. That sounds delectably comic booky in nature. The ending of this is somewhat exciting in comparison to the rest of the comic book because we do finally see Kyle Rayner. Where's Kyle Rayner been? Apparently he was captured on an alien vessel, and Hal Jordan and JoJo Mullen's fine ass go in to save the day. But by that point, Kyle Rayner had pretty much already saved himself. They explain to him what happened to the Justice League. They're all dead. Wally West and the Flash family are looking for Barry Allen, and we, the Green Lantern Corps, are actually going to go out and find and fight the Dark Army on their turf before they make it to Earth. And we see all the Green Lanterns there. Of course, there are striking amounts of continuity errors. Jessica Cruz is not a Green Lantern right now. She's a Yellow Lantern. Simon Baz, not a Green Lantern right now. He's a white something, not a Lantern. We haven't seen Guy Gardner forever. And I'm sure there's a couple of other characters in the background. I don't see Chip, but there were other characters that were turned into Star Sapphires and Blue Lanterns within the Green Lantern run that just ended within the last 60 days. None of that is taken into account because nobody at DC Comics are talking to each other. So you have promises in the promotion of the comic book on what they're going to deliver. They don't do that. You have wild continuity errors happening in every single issue of Dark Crisis because DC Comics can't keep a hold of their own continuity. Shocking that that happens with the introduction of the Omniverse and all the other fallouts of Dark Knight's death metal. And you just have a pretty disappointing comic book. I thought we were going to get this epic battle to the death. Nightwing versus Slade Wilson. Maybe Nightwing lives, but maybe all the Titans die in the process. Something like that's happened. That's what I expected to happen. They sort of fight. He slaps him in the face. They talk big. They say, yeah, we're going to do this. It's you and I. And then he says, oh, I can't do it. Someone told me I had to leave, and then they walk through portals. Hank Henshaw, Cyborg Superman, one of the coolest villains in all of comic books, one of the biggest threats that you could bring into a comic book story, shows up, confronts John Kent Superman. They punch each other a couple times. They fly through a building. 2 pages later, Cyborg Superman says, you know what? No, boss, I'm leaving. You guys should probably regroup and talk about how you're going to defeat us later. That's the story. It's just so disappointing. But it is not as disappointing as some of the tie-ins that have already happened, specifically Dark Crisis Young Justice, Megan Fitzmartin. That comic book was bad. If you need more information what the Flash family are doing and looking for Barry Allen, they kind of found him, maybe. Definitely check this out. I reviewed those 2 issues. The Flash story is much better than the Young Justice story, but definitely check this out because Dark Crisis has not been good so far.